I would kick the shit out of Meteos.
Oh, you would kick the shit out of Medios. Nice, man. All right, guys, we're back, and we're gonna go into some League of Legends news. I'm gonna let Richard kind of lead us through this since he's following it way closer than I am, apparently. And there's been a lot of stuff going on with. I think today Nip it was announced that Nip disband and X Special, like some other news, X Special being benched or whatever from TSM. I mean, lots of big stuff happening. And Richard, want to lead us through here?
Okay, so let's talk about TSMX special. I think that's cool.
Look
Um,
at this.
That timing was fucking perfect.
yeah. Uh,
Oh,
Perfect timing.
beautiful.
Perfect timing.
Beautiful non-context. That's awesome.
yeah, I know. This is what I mean. It's not like I can't help but feel if they'd heard the preceding.
They might have understood what that was about.
Exactly. Everybody's like, poor Medios.
Oh,
I
let's
don't
just
even
keep
know.
it that way and keep guessing. That's
man.
brilliant.
Okay, so I think what we need to talk about is the rise in violence against League of Legends players. It's a real concern for everyone.
God.
No, okay, all right. So let's try and keep on point. So yeah, TSMX special. TSM obviously, for many people, are the number one team in America. Although I'm sure Cloud9 fans, and indeed the fact that Cloud9 are better than them, adds some kind of leverage against that. But TSM is certainly the biggest, the most popular team. Historically, they're not a side that really changes their roster a lot. So any change they do make is kind of big news. Um, and it's happened that they benched one of their longest
Starting
one of their
members. I
long
mean,
service. Yeah,
yeah.
a founding kind of starting member, the support player X Special, who is the nicest guy, the most passive guy. Now, I wrote an article way back where I basically denounced Reginald, the brand owner and of course the former mid laner and team captain, although he's retired now and is kind of the coach, as a bit of a bully, that he'd surrounded himself with these type Bs, so he could kind of just dictate to them, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it all my way.
Right.
And generally, anyone who objected and showed any kind of backbone quickly found that they were benched or they were out the team. There's been lots of personality clashes in the past, and we've seen as well even guys who were in the team. Like there was a thing on Reddit where it was Dyrus and Reginald had an argument. Like Dyrus asked him to keep the noise down. Reginald got
Yes, I
up,
remember
kind of
that.
stood over him saying, "You're being fucking rude, dude. Do you even lift?" Giving it all of that sort of shit. And Dyrus banged his fist down. There was a bit of an argument there, and it sparked a bullying debate on Reddit because everyone who follows the game's 14. So this is kind of big news in the competitive scene, no doubt about it. But what's really perplexing is kind of the whys, which have never really come out. X Special made a vlog about it, and it has one of the best quotes. I know you will love this, John. You are going to get drawn into the magic of League of Legends just temporarily when I read you this quote. X Special said in his vlog, he went, "Life. If I had to define life, I would say that life is one's journey through life." That's what he said. That's the quote.
Eloquent for sure.
Well,
No,
it's
I
not
mean-
wrong.
Yeah, he's on the money, I guess. But he didn't really elaborate on what had kind of happened. And I mean, Reginald had said, he put out a statement on Facebook basically saying that he needed an attitude adjustment or something, that every decision he makes is for the good of the team. I don't know. I mean, TSM were lacking something. I just don't know if X Special was.
I mean, there's a long history of those two not getting along, right? I think X Special and Reggie, hasn't there been a long history of that or no? I mean, not like at odds or that type of thing, but just not on the same page all the time.
I don't know. Look,
I thought that was something.
Here's the thing. I mean, look, I think TSM are one of those kind of teams that it's like, I always get the impression that kind of their friendships transcend the arguments, but equally, I think it's very much Reginald's bitch. Like what he says goes across the board.
Well, yeah.
And you can say that's fair enough. But I always get the impression that players are a little bit kind of held hostage. They've got what I like to call the golden handcuffs put on them. They've got this incredible deal with Twitch. They make more CPM than anyone else on Twitch. I'm led to believe. They bring huge value to the Riot, the LCS broadcasts. They're very, and they make a shit ton of money from merchandising, streaming, everything. The TSM brand is super, super strong. And when you're in that position, if someone comes along and says, I can take that away from you and kick you out the team, I don't know. I mean, it's terrifying, I imagine, because anything is going to be a step down from that. So
I agree.
I definitely kind of feel there's an element where the players are kind of a little bit afraid of being, cast into the wilderness of having to look for another League of Legends team.
Yeah.
And certainly I can't think of anything X Special really did overly wrong this season. I can think of other people that weren't quite up to snuff.
Well, it's not. It wasn't about play or performance. It was supposedly about attitude after plays or performance. It wasn't like he was a bad player or anything, which is what we're led to believe by his vlogs and the statements that have been released.
Yeah, I mean, certainly he's a real passive dude. I mean, like, he's incredibly passive, as we've just seen with such profound philosophies. He is a very happy-go-lucky person. I mean, people have made jokes about him being a bit emo, and he does. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know. It kind of seems really weird that now they've decided his attitude needs an adjustment. And, if you've got an emo personality type and you just drop them and shit on them for no reason, the attitude adjustment isn't that they're going to get better. They're only going to get worse. They're going to feel persecuted. So I think psychologically I would question the wisdom of the move. But obviously, like all journalists, I don't have the full facts at my disposal. I'm clearly speculating here. So I don't know. But for me, it was a strange one. It definitely came out of left field. I thought TSM had looked so good for like 2/3 of this split. They looked head and shoulders above everyone else, and then they just kind of died off. But it's a meaningless split. It wasn't like there was anything really on the line. It wasn't like we were playing to go to Worlds or anything. It was just, it was just the way Riot do things. It was a bit of a meaningless split. So really surprised. There's lots of rumors flying about who his replacement's going to be. I've heard some crazy ones. People talking about maybe Bloodwater. The guy who got benched by XDG being in the mix. Can't believe that. If it's true, great. What a comeback that'd be for him, but I think it's bullshit. So I don't know. So that was the big news. Then today, we've got Super Team again. This again with the Super Team. So I got woke up by a text, like 11:30. Wake up, Mongo, from a LOL player. And I was like, what the fuck? So because I got flu, so I come over to the thing, and it's just a wall of like, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Loads of chat messages, chat logs. And long story short, the NIP team, the core of the Ninjas in Pajamas team, who failed to get into LCS, they lost their qualifier against Millennium. They are apparently forming another super team. And here's what makes it super. So first thing they do is their AD carry Freeze. He's out. Now that's incredible because this guy had a chance to join the original super team, which was the one that went on to become Alliance. And back then they had Edward, and Edward was like, I really want to play with Freeze. And NIP wouldn't let him go. They wouldn't let Alliance buy him out of the... Well, it wasn't that they wouldn't let him. It was just they were asking an exorbitant amount of money, a ridiculous amount that no organization was going to pay to get their hands on a player. So he could have been out the door and playing in the LCS already. That opportunity was denied him. He had to honor his contracts. He did. And then, bang, they kick him. Gone. See ya. Thanks for that split. We didn't qualify. You're out now. And he was on Twitter today, but I thought we were friends. Like, this is esports, you idiot. There are no friends. You're just an asset that will be used and abused by other people. So he's had his esports awakening, which it sucks for him, but, he won't get burnt again, I guess. So they bring in the AD carry called Forgiven from Copenhagen Wolves, who is like known for being, toxic, to use that cultish word that Riot have proliferated. And it's to the point where he actually used to tweet about his own teammates sucking. Like after a game, he'd be like, it sucks winning lane all the time and then losing 50% of our matches because of my teammates. The kind of shit you say after a bad solo queue experience, he was saying about an LCS team. And I really like Copenhagen Wolves as an organization. I really like the players there, Yeah. So they've decided he's surplus to requirements, but he's got a contract as well. So he's announced, like Forgiven has announced, hey, I'm with this new super team. I'm with Miffy. I'm with Nuke Duck. I'm with Hulberto. That's the three from NIP. but Copenhagen Wolves have said, well, actually, we're going to want to see something in return for your contract. So they're trying to thrash out a deal. So now it gets even more convoluted because NIP have released that team. So Copenhagen Wolves don't even have somebody to go to say, will you buy him out of his contracts? They technically don't have an organization.
Wow. Okay. That's...
So, yeah. So, and then, and this is the real part of it, and then I will stop talking and everyone can feign interest. Right? The big part is Alex Ich, the legendary mid laner, the Russian, god, the member of Gambit Gaming. He apparently is attached to the team. He is apparently going to leave. I mean, I still can't believe it. I can't even bring myself to say it because it sounds so unbelievable. But this is what I've been told by about 5 separate sources. He's going to leave Gambit to play with this team in the Challenger League. So he apparently is going to walk away from Gambit Gaming in a split that would dictate whether or not they competed at Worlds to play with a Challenger team. And why would he do that? Well, apparently he wants to spend, he's got a wife and kid, and he wants to spend more time with them. And the rigors of LCS are really taking their toll on him. So that is the huge part of the story. That's the part that doesn't even make any sense and people can't believe. Everything else fits. But if it's true, and again, I'm being told it absolutely is, that is huge. I don't know what it would mean for Gambit Gaming.
That's
I certainly
bad
don't.
for them.
Yeah, I mean, a huge exposure for the Challenger League. I'm sure Riot would love this. I'm sure Riot would pay him to go and play to promote the Coach Challenger League in this way, because certainly the amateur teams they've had in there haven't really treated it with the reverence that opportunity deserves. But yeah, so a huge scoop from nowhere today, and one that could have huge ramifications throughout the whole league. Over to you guys. John.
Well, I mean, I just won my Hearthstone game. It was pretty great. Thanks for Warlock. Trap deck works surprisingly well. And also that fucking new card back, man. It's so sick. So sick.
Which one, the Subnet one or the Legend one?
Ah, yeah, the Pandaria one.
I'm willing to extend
That's
the
pretty nice.
Pandaria one.
Yeah,
nice bit of animation in the corner there. You know, I think they should really raise the requirements for that card back though, because honestly, rank 20 is a little bit too low. I think everyone's just gonna have it, so it's not really all exclusive. And then the next one's Legend, whoa! Or the even harder one, have 3 friends in the same house playing Hearthstone. Whoa! That's a bit excessive, don't you think?
Yeah, that's true.
I'll make a point and not be an asshole.
No, I was just going to say, John, I've just had an email from Riot saying that they're going to have to shut this broadcast down because we're talking about Hearthstone and League of Legends. We're done. See ya.
Nobody's LCS player here, man. It's all good.
What I find most interesting about the way that LoL does that, and obviously Dota does it a bit as well, but LoL's obviously a bigger scene, is the way that the transfer market and the way that teams actually work in League of Legends is so sports-like at this point that even a player moving teams in StarCraft 2 is actually not that big a deal. But in League of Legends, it is front page Reddit news every single time. That's what you see all the time. It's super important.
It's all the drama, too. All the drama in League of Legends has to do with switching teams and that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, just like a real sport, I was thinking if Riot wants a claim to be a real sport, then it's because they create just as much drama, if not more so, than a regular sport. And the transfer market is actually a big deal, whereas in other esports, it just really isn't. But no,
is it not a big deal?
Is it not a big clue?
Is it not a big deal in Dota?
Not as much so.
So I can
understand it.
It should be. Why
I can understand it not being a big deal. I can understand it not being a big deal in StarCraft because StarCraft isn't really much of a team game. It doesn't really matter which team you're on. People root for the players mostly anyway.
Wouldn't the reason it would be a bigger deal is because of LCS though, right? Because you're talking about salaried positions in a team league. As opposed to Dota, which doesn't really have
LCS
that.
affects it a little bit, but if you really like a player, you're always going to watch that player in StarCraft 2. It doesn't matter which team he's on; it doesn't make that big of a deal. But in League of Legends, the player is part of a team always. There's never going to be one star player that can perform super well and carry any team all over. And the way that they interact with their team and whatever, it's a really big deal what team you're on. I think.
Yeah.
Let me illuminate as one of the folks who've managed a Dota team. So John is absolutely right. In LCS, when there's an organizing body, that really adds a lot of clout to these sort of things because they come with by being part of the LCS there are certain rules attached with it. In Dota, Valve sort of just lets you Valve insists that you guys organize amongst yourself until the international is involved, and then they let you go. So in positions where we've grabbed like in the past, like for Jo, for example, was like the most popular players on Complexity. They insisted that if we really wanted Jo, like they could hold him via contract, but once a player is sort of mentally checked out, it's not going to work. The team is just not going to work, right? So in 2012, 2011, Jo was part of Complexity. They were like, hey man, like you should really buy him out because we can just hold him forever, you know. We can hold him until the contract goes out. So that's the difference. The contracts are exclusive to the team. LCS isn't there's no regulation body in Dota, and that's the difference. Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, I think it's really weird. You mentioned a point earlier talking about how individuals, and I don't know why that isn't there with a lot of Dota, but it always feels like the way Riot have kind of modeled their broadcast, that there's such a bigger platform, not for the teams, but like for the individual players. It's almost like they're grooming them for, jobs on analyst desks or, to be casters later on. It kind of feels that way to me. And we see them crop up time and time again. Players in League of Legends, as we found out, they don't really have long playing careers before they're looking to transition to something else. Like, here we are 4 seasons and already we've got players, I played in 1 split and I'm a caster now. Like, what the fuck? Like, it wouldn't. I can't think of any real sport that's even comparable to. Yet there's this platform there. Like when you do an interview, I don't think the players. Sure, they're representing their team, but a lot of the time, I think they're kind of representing themselves and their own brand. And I just feel like, for me, that there's this individualist streak kind of running through it. And as well as talking about, how individual players can't carry teams. Which was Steven's point, in League of Legends, it definitely doesn't feel like that. Like, Froggen pretty much pulled that Alliance team up until everyone else got on his level. Meteos and Cloud9, an unparalleled jungler who John wants to kick the shit out of for some reason. These players do put the team on their back, and I think in the past you could probably name some more that do that. That might be to do with the overall simplicity of the game. I don't know, but a star player in League of Legends does feel like a very real thing. I won't compare it to Dota.
What's wrong with that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, there's plenty of star players in Dota. Also, I mean.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I can't really compare it to Dota, but it does feel like whenever I watch it, it does feel like there's a concerted team effort. Like if a team's underperforming. I can't think of an individual. I haven't watched a lot of Dota, but I can't think of a time where an individual has done something so amazing it's pulled everyone back in. Either the team rallies and pulls off an amazing team move, or that doesn't happen. I'm sure people will correct me very shortly.
I thought, isn't it the exact opposite of what you're saying? I would imagine in Dota it would be easier to carry solo versus League of Legends. Because in Dota 2, the champions are much more capable of doing shit versus in League of Legends, everything is so balanced that it's really hard for one champion to just shit all over the enemy team. Like, what role in League of Legends I mean, I guess like a jungler can help all of your lanes and whatnot, but in terms of like actual fighting, like there is no mid in League of Legends that can just absolutely fucking 1v5 and kill the enemy team. There's definitely not an AD carry that can do it because AD fucking sucks in Season 4 still. I mean, top can be really helpful, but if you don't have any damage behind it from the AP, the AD, like, you suck, and support is support. Like,
I don't know if I agree. I think in the current meta especially, I think you can get to a stage with certain champs where they just become unkillable. Like, I think Riot wanted to really address games being, like there's no comeback mechanic, and they changed the whole meta around that. Longer death timers, at the end, things like this. But the comeback mechanic now has kind of made it really anticlimactic. It's just about the last fight, the fight that you have late. And you can get champions to a point where they're literally unkillable, or they just do so much damage, or have like so much mobility. There's just nothing you can do. Like, I watched a bunch of games this season where it was like from the very first kind of exchanges, one champion got so far ahead, you just knew they weren't going to be able to shut them down.
I thought in Dota that doesn't happen as much, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought one of the biggest complaints. I thought one of the biggest complaints about League in Season 4 is that, and I see this pop up on the subreddit over and over again, was that it was impossible to close out games now before like 30 or 40 or 50 minutes. That every single game seems to get drawn because of the way that all the champions are balanced now, and the way that and because of the little tweaks and
The
changes.
average game time is definitely longer. I don't know if you can't close them out. I mean, we've seen.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying like the average game time are being drawn out more and more and more would point to the fact that it takes more than just one player to end a game, you know? Whereas like in Season 2 or even Season 3 in League, like there were certain roles where like if you were doing really fucking well, like that player could push the entire team to just fucking close out a game. In League, I was under the impression that that's gotten a lot harder now in Season 4.
I mean, I don't know if I agree. The one thing you've definitely said I do agree with is AD carries still being dog shit. But and not really being able to sort of actually fulfill their role of carrying a game. But
yeah, at 80 carries, right?
Yeah, sorry, right. I gotta get with the Riot cult language. But I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I definitely think that in the current meta, you can get so far ahead that it just becomes that inevitable matter of time. Like you have to throw a game now. You know, like once you're ahead, it's about just making a bad decision. You know, it just feels that we're just like top lane, especially like the amount of just ridiculous beast champs that just literally like, you know, I watched Dyrus just shit all over someone in the American playoffs with a Mundo that just literally, you just can't kill the fucker. What are you gonna do? Like you physically cannot kill him once he gets to a certain point. And you know, he's dicking all over top lane. He's split pushing, so everyone goes to try and kill him. Nope. My fucking ultimate makes me super fast. I'm just going to run away from you anyway. And not that I need to. I could just stand there and laugh in your face for half an hour while the rest of my team fucking take objectives. So you can definitely get so far ahead. It just becomes about that decision making. And, you know, certainly in Europe and North America, that's how it feels to me.
I don't know. I'm not sure how we got onto that, given that we were talking about team transfers and stuff, right? So kind of, I guess, bring it back to this and maybe wrapping up this League of Legends stuff. I don't know. What do you think's gonna end up happening with the whole?
Right. So back to the transfer thing. I mean, I think what will have to happen is, I mean, this team, one way or the other, the super team, they're literally gonna have to play in Challenger now because Riot, after allowing EG, and I'm sure Cody will be able to chip in at this point, after allowing EG to break their own rules, and try and explain it like we're not allowing them to buy a velocity spot, but we are really, and we're not allowing people to control two organizations simultaneously. But who's Alex Garfield, other than Cody's best man? You know, it's absurd to me. But anyway, so they're really trying to clamp down on allowing people to buy LCS spots, but it's still gonna happen. Whether you reword it as like it's a rebranding or whatever, you know, there are going to be people who will take money in exchange to allow you to compete in LCS. And obviously all of that came in after the Nip and Lemon Dogs fiasco. So there's a chance they could be in the LCS, but if we believe this Alex Itzting at face value, and he is wanting to spend more time with his family, and you know, let's be honest, who wouldn't want to do that? There comes a point where you've got to put gaming aside. Then competing in the Challenger League would absolutely allow him to do it. It's just hard to see how he would make it pay. Because in the original report we did, Nip will throw money at anything. They've got money to burn, seemingly. And Alex could have been on a huge salary if Nip were picking up the team. Now that they're not, I don't understand what other Challenger team is out there. What other organization is going to pay top dollar for a Challenger team? I do not understand it. So it's going to be very strange. And the other thing that happened in League of Legends, which I'll just mention, was Super Hot Crew, the worst named fucking organization of all time, I think. No, seriously, come on. But anyway, yeah, so Super Hot Crew, they said they were going to bench their support player, Migza. And that, you know, he wasn't out of the team. It was going to be okay. He would still be involved. We'd keep him as a sub. We'd find a way to work him in. And maybe one day he can play his way back in. And Migza was like, you know what? I'm retiring. Fuck this. So right. He was straight out of it. He just couldn't be asked. Yeah, and you know, to be fair, he took it on the chin. He just kind of said that once he got to LCS, he didn't want to play things like solo queue, scrims, practice. He only wanted to play the big games. So I can understand that from a team perspective.
Right.
You know, but he's a good player. So again, it's another one who's had his kind of career prematurely ended, if you like, just because I don't think people really understand the nature of competitive esports. So that's pretty much all the big stuff that's been happening in the league. Oh,
Boom.
one last thing. XDG getting relegated. Right.
It's
Shit, man.
always XDG, man.
No, because it always is XDG. Great. I mean, nobody thought for a second they were going to beat LMQ, but two hilarious things come out of that, right? First, one hilarious thing: XDG get relegated by they're going to cease to exist. Players retiring, managers on Twitter. Can I get a job, guys? Yeah, okay, cool. We'll help you out with that. But then Elements, who I've got a lot of respect for, he takes to YouTube to make a video basically saying Chinese people shouldn't be able to come over and play in the North American LCS unless they've got full citizenship and like playing for an organization that's established. And you should probably have 2 Americans in there just to watch them and make sure they're not doing anything sneaky.
Oh, wow.
Now, he didn't say that, but he's probably thinking it. So no, he probably wasn't. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, I couldn't believe that, foreign people coming to America to make a success of themselves. When's that ever happened? Like, are you really objecting to this? Is that really a thing? So that sparked like a great double circle jerk from Reddit. The old double jerk, which I love it. When Reddit tries to circle jerk in opposite directions at the same time and creates the jerk centrifuge, where some people were saying it was racist. Other people were saying he's got a point. Like, look at, region locking and, all of that in StarCraft that came up. But yeah, so that was like a huge debate that happened. Like, should a Chinese team be able to come to North America without pledging allegiance to the flag and compete in the North American LCS?
Okay, well.
I don't know if you want to throw that one open. I think Cody and John might care about that. They've done so much for foreign players competing in America, right?
I mean, I guess.
So I'll sink my teeth
Sure,
into it,
go
and
for
then I'll do my best to coax John into it. So the what is it? Under player eligibility, it's section 1.2, residency and work eligibility in the LCS rule states that each player must submit proof that at any given time prior to an LCS match, that he or she is a legal resident of the country or has work eligibility. And that is 100% just not a rule that is... It's in the rule set because it looks great, and it makes the lawyers that work for whoever like feel very comfortable. But like that's just not acknowledged. It's just... it's a convenience thing. I mean, like, John can chime in, like, it's very difficult to get, like, citizenship here in the United States or work eligibility. And a lot of these teams, like, were just getting, it was announced in December. They were like, hey, we got this, like, really great player from Europe who's going to come be mid for our team. And then it becomes very, nebulous in the middle of the season when someone announces via Twitter in the middle of the season. They were like, hey, I'm not going to play this week. I got to go home for a week. I can't explain it too much, but I'm going home for a week, I think that's like a rule that is being sort of danced around, for sure. And that's one of the things...
I thought they figured that all out with that whole... I thought that was part of the big excitement behind that one visa they were able to secure, whatever. Like a general visa for all sales players. Was that just like not true at all, or what?
It was a great press release.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That's what it ended up being.
Nor was it
really
the first
awesome
one to have happened at all.
Yeah.
I thought the statement was that if you were like an LCS player, they could guarantee you access to that.
Well, they could
kind
give
of
you
visa.
the athletes, right? The athletes,
Yeah, I thought they could guarantee you that access to that visa. Was that not true, or?
It takes a long time. It often takes... I mean, like, so when a team decides they want to pick up a player in December and the league starts in January, I truly think that a lot of these guys are working through these visa processes, but I don't think it takes 4 weeks.
Well, they they announced that, and then like that Chinese team had, or somebody had visa issues like the next month or something like that.
It was
so
that Korean team that was
Korean
supposed to be
team,
really hyped. Yeah, they were sort of in the... Because they had to leave whether they won or not, you know what I mean? And they ended up losing, so it was like really
not a big
a non-factor, a non-starter is what we call it in the industry, right? Like, so the conversation didn't even have to start because they lost. But I mean, like, take a gander at like I think it might have been Dexter very early in the season. He's like, fuck guys, I can't get into the country. You know, despite these really exciting press releases about, you know, all the visas we have and now these players are unable to sort of freely travel from the country, it looks good on paper. I mean, we had a you want to know what's really bizarre, actually? Complexity had a Counter-Strike, I think for CSGO, had a Counter-Strike Go player get a visa for a long time ago. So
it was CSS. It was Zet.
Yeah, Zet. There we go. Yeah,
Zet
so this
in
wasn't
the
also
CGS.
this wasn't the first thing, but the really cool that Zet had going for him was the visa actually existed. That's actually a really huge leg up over these non-existent visas that allow these players to compete. A tremendous leg up, actually.
I mean,
I find that I like real things more than fake things more often.
The situation with Dexter, I mean, it really sucked. Like, he was so hyped to be going out there in the first place, and then you get there and straight away handcuffs. Like, sorry, dude. Like,
yep, been there, done that. It sucks.
Yeah, like you can't. I mean, literally, they don't fuck around. Like, if you ain't got the paperwork in America,
it's at the airport too, right? Like,
yeah,
it's at the airport. Basically, they take you to a secondary check, which basically means they're gonna grill you for hours. I think my interrogation was probably 4 hours. They throw a bunch of bullshit at you that's clearly not true to try and trip you up. So that's fun. And then if basically it comes up to the boss of that area gets to make the call, and you've got no say, like your consulate can't do a damn thing about it. Like, we brought the British consulate in when I got chucked out of the country, and they couldn't do a damn thing. Like, legally, there's nothing you can do. And then they chuck you in a detention center for like a day or two, and then they put you back on the next plane they can. And yeah, it's like, it's handcuffs there, it's handcuffs back. Always. They don't fuck around. You know, you get 2 armed agents take you there and back. That's just how it goes.
Like
but
American immigration, there are so many horror stories of, like, even if you're 100% born and raised American, like, if you go overseas and you visit a country that, like, borders Pakistan, like, there are guys that, like, I've read stories about who, like, every fucking time they come back to the United States, they're in an interrogation for 4 to 6 hours answering questions about where they were, what were they doing there, do they have, you know, can you prove that you were there doing that, blah, 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 like, did you go there, did you, like, absolutely insane shit. And that's for American citizens, but, like, you fuck any part of your paperwork up, and I mean, like, we've seen what happened to Violet, like, I mean, there have been other people online, and if you follow the Pogo guy on YouTube, like, he came to America and he messed something up with his visa, so he's out of the country for like X amount of years unless you get it resolved. Like, it's a huge fucking nightmare dealing with that stuff.
If you've got a decent amount of money, you can get that shit fixed. But even if you've got that, it takes time. I think my O1B, and we spent a lot of money, and we got a really, really good lawyer, and we accelerated it as much as possible because I was trying to get back over to cast an IPL event, and that was still 4+ months and all sorts of fucking pain in the ass shit. Like, and it gets picky as well. Like, you can get tripped up by the simplest thing, like your passport. The laminate is very slightly coming away. Better replace your entire fucking passport because we're not putting a visa in that. So go to Wales. They sent me to fucking Wales of all places.
Bad luck, bro.
Yeah, that was the worst part of my life. It was a dark time, but eventually get all that shit sorted out. Yeah, and then after all that, you get into the country with your visa, and then it's just like, oh, okay, see ya. Like, it was that fucking easy. It's like when I got my green card, they asked me literally 2 questions, and then it's like, here's a green card. Like, what? I went through all this bullshit, and now you're making this easy? Like, this doesn't even feel like a victory anymore. But I don't think that
pretty silly.
if Riot can actually get these visas that quickly, I will be very, very surprised, because O1B's been around for a hell of a lot longer than that. It generally deals with it's mostly an actor's visa, and you know, they need that. Pretty much. They need that shit sorted out quickly, and for people that, you know, are going to go and do like a big fucking movie or whatever, and they need that shit sorted out quickly. And that still takes time. So yeah, the visa process is labyrinthine. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of. Oh.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I thought it was cool that when all this shit happened with Dexter, Riot were nowhere to be seen. Like, I mean, that's the thing. I would have expected Riot to at least realize people were going to say, I thought these visas were cool. Like, I thought we had that all sorted now. You trumpeted about it quite loudly. But, yeah, they didn't make a statement. They didn't say a fucking word about the situation. And, again, and I always talk about this duty of care that I think Riot, you know, should have towards their competitors, and certainly I don't think it was met in this instance. You know, if I was a young guy going to America to start a new life, because he's living out there, you know, we're talking about going to a gaming house to compete in their league, and the first thing that happens is handcuffs, you know, and an interrogation. I'd probably have made some sort of statement about that. I wouldn't have just let the organization say, yeah, Dexter can't play this weekend. It was really poorly handled. So that was just a point I wanted to make. Sorry, Cody, I'll let you jump back.
Yeah, there are a couple of instances over the season, and one of the things I want to make really clear, because it's entirely possible that I botched this, is like I'm more interested in with League of Legends anyways, like esports politics than maybe necessarily the game itself. But there are a handful of instances I remember over the course of this split where, it's just like a very casual tweet. Who's like, hey, this really popular player or two are going to have to miss this game this week, with no sort of no one further clarifies why or why not, because there are a tremendous amount of League of Legends players coming over from Europe to play in North America this season, this split, which made this split unique. And it's just one of those things, like those are really, visas are the real deal. Like John can attest to this. Like John's life was fucked up for a couple of years because of visas.
Yeah, 3 years, pretty much. Yeah.
A lot of times these teams bank on they were like, well, you can be here for 90 days. It's not and then it could go, fingers crossed it doesn't go south anywhere, like between those 90 days or the next time you come back for the next 90 days. Yeah, it just gets nuts.
Well, and it's also worth bearing in mind, this is affecting StarCraft as well. The vast majority of players that come into the country to play do not come in under a visa. They come in under visa waiver programs, which, it's a bit of a gray area, but mostly it seems like common knowledge is that technically they're actually not allowed to do that in order to play and win prize money because it counts as working in the country, which they're not allowed to do. And it all kind of just flies under the radar, and I think that it's good that it flies under the radar because it's practical. I think there does need to be some sort of provision to allow players to even come in for like a week to compete in a tournament, because this is happening a lot more now. And getting everyone an athlete's visa, especially when a player might not do another tournament in the US for over a year, is impractical and costly.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I always think we've got, I don't know if British people can talk too much about the immigration issue, because I think we've got a real fucking skewed idea on it all, because we've got a little bit of brown leather that we just flash at people, and we're just allowed in most countries. Like we'd be offended.
Well, I was for a while.
Offended.
Now I'm not.
Exactly.
I got it fixed eventually, but apparently that bit of brown leather didn't do much other than whip my ass.
Crazy. All right. Well,
it's funny that we're so, maybe it's like one of those overcompensating things. Like we're crazy fucking strict on people coming in from another country. Because if you really want to get here, you can just walk in from Mexico, like the 20 or 30 million illegal immigrants here do. So maybe they're like, we have to buckle down every other place. I don't know. Maybe that could be like a new thing. You guys could set up shop in like Mexico or whatever. You like smuggle over pro gamers illegally or whatever. You just set up that service. It'd probably be cheaper and less of a hassle than going through the visa thing.
Yeah, a wooden boat. Yeah, it's cool.
Maybe we could run some sort of tournament where the winners get visas. Like, you win citizenship.
Shit, that's a good idea.
You come illegally over the border to compete in a clandestine tournament, and the winners get citizenship. They're on the spot. We have a fucking ranger come and swear them in with the flag, everything. There you go. That's the thing.
Well, by the US government.
The next Shoutcraft, that's what I want to see. Like.
Absolutely. I think the next thing that Riot should move into is probably running a PMC where they take pro gamers and they basically put them on the battlefield, and they fight for the country and they earn their citizenship that way, Starship Troopers style. That's the honest way of doing things.
The chat's got a bit weird. They're saying, and the losers
would you like to know
killed.
More?
And the losers should get killed.
We've got UKIP winning an election over here right now. I really don't want to go down the route of killing people like that. So come on, let's just be harmonious people.
All right, so the chat's been just like dying with this League of Legends talk. So let's move on.
Fuck League of Legends, man.
Yeah, fuck League of Legends.
So it's only the biggest.
I guess I should switch back the category back to StarCraft now. Then.
Yeah, let's do it. We lost like all of our viewers. I think people are getting so sick of it. What are we down to, ChanManV?
We're actually up.
Yeah,
up 500.
Fucking lol every time a live game.
Fucking time.
Exactly.
Live
all right, let's
is
talk about.
Is this what it feels like to do in a live game? You just turn on shit. You have somebody as crazy as Richard talk for a while, and you get viewers. Jesus, no wonder Maximus Black made it. I'm sorry.
He's going to ESGN, boys.
Yeah,
he's part of
Maximus
the
Black is.
Yeah, he's part of the sick ESGN crew.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he was on. I mean, what
about a company with foresight and
what
vision.
What did they do there? Okay, we can talk. What what was that whole thing with him and whatchamacallit? Oh god, I'm having a brain fart. Like they had like a group of streamers over there, right, for an ESGN event. What was that? It was League though. It was League centric, I think. Phantom Lord, right? Phantom Lord was there, and
yeah,
Maximus
Phantom
was there.
Lord. So this kid got.
Yeah. What was that all about? Shit, I forget.
Well, he like masqueraded around hackers and maybe even encouraged him.
Oh
So,
god,
to
that
hack
was
it up.
so bad.
Oh,
Hack it up,
jeez.
so,
Yeah, I
like-
remember that now.
Let's affiliate our brand with Phantom Lord. Maximus Black, I'm so on. Like, I think he's like pretty good. Like, sometimes he's really funny. Sometimes he gets really extreme with like his like he'll do these like big trolling videos where he gets like upset at people, and sometimes that's a little over the top for me. And then everyone else I didn't recognize. But like Phantom Lord's claim to fame.
But
is,
what did
like-
they do there? What did they do for that broadcast? I don't even know what they were.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, I didn't even see it, so I knew they were there and they were doing something, but
My only question is if they got rid of the scoreboard girls yet that sit
yes,
there with 5,000
I think they got
yards
rid of
of
the wheel
exercise.
too. They got rid of
Yeah.
the wheel.
Also, I posted it in
It's good.
chat. So this is their vision, I guess.
yeah, what was this? It's something to do with League of Legends and these streamer. I mean, like
So
Maximus
they did like
obviously is
weird
not-
fan things where like you can get roped in, and win prizes. They can't affiliate with LCS because Riot is like very adamant about like separating their brand from everyone else's. Like, so there's no third-party shit with LCS. It started on April 21st or 24th is what this article says.
Okay, so it's like Chaos and
Yeah, Chaos is actually
Yeah.
big. Maximus Black is like he has a little bit of an impact, I think. He's very touch and go. Like with each Maximus Black thing, I see like it's either like they really love him or they really don't.
yeah, I mean, it
Did
seems to
anyone
work
watch
out for
this?
him.
I mean, Richard,
No, I
like
didn't.
you follow the scene closest. Like, is this?
Yeah, but I try and avoid ESGN broadcasts, so that's a real fucking big problem. I can't be asked for that. No, come on.
Where did you get this? Where'd you get this ESGN video? Do you browse our cringe too? Oh god,
Exactly.
this dancing.
Gosh.
Yeah. So I just look. I
So the
think
video
it's-
starts with Maximus Black
What is this?
tucking in his
Let me see.
crotch while Chance
Yeah.
the dog, and Chance defected from NASL. Man, that was the NASL dog, but he left too.
What?
Like NASL was really hung out to dry.
Jesus,
Look at the
that's-
video. Look at the video.
It
that I
is
was looking
Chance.
at. Yeah,
No, Chance is there. Yeah, Chance is
Chance is in for that quick buck too.
Are you seriously telling me they fucking got a visa for the dog and sent that to fucking Germany?
He's
And
let me
Riot
look it
can't
up.
sort their shit out. God.
Chance is on their org chart. Let me look this shit up. ESGN.
It's on their org chart. Are you
Oh yeah, they
serious?
link it. They
What the
link
fuck
it.
is this thing?
Who owns
Why
Chance
are they
then?
dancing around? What's happening?
Yeah,
That's what I
can't
mean.
do
That's why
Chance.
that's why I was asking. Like, I have no idea what this
Don't-
this
don't
was.
do it
Like,
to yourself, bro.
Chance owns one of the
you
producers.
got Chaos doing the Running Man in it, and you got Maximus doing Michael Jackson. So
I can't fucking find it.
Here,
but,
let me link it to everybody.
One of the producers owns Chance.
That green screen is not well put together. The lighting is dodgy. You'd expect better.
I think they were kind of hoping you would be staring at Maximus Black's crotch, and rather than the green screen, because it's certainly bang in the center of it, isn't it? Like, it's just a
I'm
horrible.
focused on the
horrible
dog.
video.
Look at that motherfucking tail. Have you seen that thing? That's plumage. That's regal.
It is a
Jesus.
great dog.
Look at
It's
it.
a great
seriously,
dog.
it is. It's almost fake looking.
It's probably the
Yeah,
smartest
that's
dog they've
also
met.
green screen. The fucking dog was superimposed in. This is ESPN's
he's-
budget in action. That dog's fucking CG.
Oh god.
No,
It's not real.
he-
Jesus.
I just seen him. He's definitely there. So I'm not sure
Let
whose
me
dog it actually is, but
He's actually in their org chart. It's fucking nuts. So they have
Yeah.
like an about Cloud. Oh, Cloud. There we go. I was looking up ESGN Cloud about. Do-do-do.
You see, that's what I mean. This is why I can't get on board with ESGN. It's like, I'm pretty sure at some point they will do something that isn't going to cringe me in half. And when they do, I will watch it. But until that day, I have learned the hard way just to stay away from everything that they put out. 'Cause it just,
I was.
They might have taken the dog off, but I promise this is the website I looked at. Oh, dog.
I mean, if you're talking about the dog being the cringe, I mean, the
Oh,
dog
it's
was
at
at
the very bottom.
NASL
Dog's not
too,
cringy.
guys.
Dog's the
Can
best
we-
part of that video.
Yeah.
can we do that, Chris? People are saying, can you play the video like on?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Oh,
only
man.
12
I just linked it. I
seconds.
just linked it to everybody.
It should come with a health warning, guys. Like seriously, I am not fucking kidding.
Chances at the very bottom of what I just.
I just linked it to everybody.
Okay, well, you know.
You just
Alright,
gotta pay
anyways.
$10,000 to lawyer that dog over to Germany. That's
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I don't know how we got on that subject, but I did want to bring up the,
He was just trying to desperately escape League of Legends as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, no, let's look at a dog. Let's just do that.
look at the
Let's
dog.
fucking dog.
This is still
Viewers
Legends.
go up again. This is it. Just don't bring up StarCraft, or we're in trouble.
All right, let's talk about your marketing deck or your sponsorship brochure, John.
Yeah, that's a truly scintillating topic.
Exactly,
To
isn't
isn't
it?
it?
Isn't it actually? But yeah, so why make it all that public?
Sick. It's sick.
It is sick. So I'm
I'm
just
super hyped about this, by the way. This is like actually a lot of you weird nerds in the chat, all like 4,600 of you, might not understand that this is the first time that, to my understanding, has been done in the entirety of esports. So this is
Well, there's been some
Wait, a
marketing decks that have been all over the
us
place.
putting a sponsorship deck together?
Yeah.
no,
thought
not
that-
putting a sponsorship deck together, but releasing a sponsorship deck.
Oh,
Like, a lot of
releasing
those
it
people
publicly.
are- Yeah,
Publicly.
yeah,
Gotcha.
it's sick.
Yeah. So what motivated you to do that, John? I mean, it's obviously your deck is nice and great, and but you don't have you don't.
The username, that's going to end up in that next video.
What?
Your deck is nice and great.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the next, that's going
That's
to be in
right.
the next
That-
cut
that's
together.
Yep,
nice.
they're going to connect it up with my Hearthstone discussion. It's going to be great. There you go. I'm just writing the jokes for your editor. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you were
Yes.
wrong, Chim. I don't think Totalbiscuit's the first to publicly release his deck to everybody.
No, there was a show called The
That's cool.
Executives, which was run by
Yeah.
Jason Lake,
Yes.
and I'm pretty sure
Oh,
I
Patrick,
think
yeah.
we saw Complexity's deck. They did an episode
saw-
on a sponsorship deck. Actually,
Yeah,
we
we saw
modeled our
Complexity's.
deck off
That's true,
one that
okay.
they did. But like, they didn't release the whole deck publicly. I think they just like showed excerpts of it. But I mean, I don't think there's any reason not to put that out. And I believe that one, it drums up publicity quite nicely because it's an unusual thing. Secondly, it gives an idea to not just potential sponsors, but to everybody why exactly like associating with a brand like Axiom is viable and useful in some way. And I think that in itself actually helps build fans. And also we have this image of being a kind of transparent team and trying new things. And so we thought, hey, well, why not? It's a good deck. It looks nice. It's well produced. It has
Very pretty.
it has nice information. Yeah, Adabisi just corrected me. Actually, it was the Check 6 deck that they showed there, which unfortunately didn't seem to get them all that far. But
Not
it's
the intended.
yeah, I mean, the intent was to drum up some publicity and to maybe get some people interested. Obviously, making it public is, I think, even arguably more effective than just cold calling sponsors, because
That's
we've had
probably
zero luck with cold calling sponsors. You've got to know people. You need contacts, and frankly, like business-wise, like someone like Alex Garfield is god tier in that respect, and I don't know shit about the contacts within the industry to get in touch with peripheral sponsors and things like that. And unfortunately, like having all this exposure and having like 1.6 mil subscribers and a big YouTube base makes no difference if you can't connect with potential sponsors.
That's what I think the difference and what I thought the advantage was for you producing or for you making your deck public versus someone like EG. I thought that it truly, with your reach, with your public reach anyway, I thought it like really gave this deck got around for sure. Whereas I think EG's is maybe a little more tailored because like Alex is, I mean like as public and popular as EG is, like that's just it's a different message. It's a different message for sure. So like what started like when we were like, hey, I think I want to do this because this was really interesting because like a lot of companies, the big thing behind this is what I nerd out about guys. Like I apologize if I just go off the deep end. Like what made you think like okay, like I actually think this is like a really good idea. We should make our deck public because it takes a lot of work. These decks take a tremendous amount.
Yeah, it did. It was after the 2014 refresh of the deck because everything was out of date. We had to get everything fixed up, and full transparency, the sponsorship for PlanetSide 2 has basically come to an end. We're working on renewal, and we're talking to them about that. Obviously, the negotiations go on fairly long for that kind of stuff. They're our principal sponsor. Essentially, if we lose them, then we don't really have much sponsor income, and the team will still be fine, but it just means that I'm spending more money on the team to make up for that. And it was a case of, right, well, we've tried the cold calling thing. It clearly doesn't work, unfortunately. I think we've got a lot to offer when it comes to sponsorship, and we're in talks with someone right now who, we can leverage our sort of presence within the general gaming scene and use that in the same way that we did with PlanetSide 2, where we say, hey, we've got a game to sponsor a team that's playing another game. And when that first got announced, people were like, how the hell did that happen? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, yeah, it does. Because you wanted to talk to a 100% PC gamer demographic, then you're talking about StarCraft 2 viewers. That's a pretty nice demographic to tap. That's alpha consumers when it comes to that kind of product. And I think that putting it out, it made more sense just to kind of raise awareness of what it is that an esports team in StarCraft 2 in particular can offer. Yeah. Because right now, I think that a lot of people are looking at things like League of Legends and saying this is where to put the sponsorship dollars. And I really do believe that with StarCraft 2, particularly with things like GameHeart, you can actually get a good deal. You get good ROI. You don't have to spend as much. You get good returns on it. And there's all sorts of these maybe smaller potential sponsors who haven't even considered thinking about sponsoring things before, who might come along and say, oh, actually, maybe it doesn't cost $1 bazillion a month to sponsor a team. This looks pretty good. I'm seeing the benefits of this, and having it publicly available means that anyone, it doesn't even matter how small you are, can look at it, and we could hopefully get sponsors from unexpected places that we haven't thought of.
One of the really weird things, I'm jumping in again, ChanMan, is
go for it.
You've actually mentioned this a lot, which is like, it's really true. Can you, so like, everyone sort of like on a very superficial level imagines that StarCraft, Dota 2, League of Legends are inherently competitors, and I think to some extent they are, but like your deck does actually a pretty sick job of explaining how how these audiences are different, so you can chase different sponsors based off these audiences. Would you mind going over that a little bit? Because like I think like on a very fundamental level, everyone just sort of sits there with their dick in their hands and they're like, well, the StarCraft dick is bigger, or the League of Legends dick is bigger, or the Dota dick is bigger, and then like maybe the sponsors have like a different shaped vagina and they prefer a different kind of dick. Like, I mean, it's actually true. Like,
I like where this is going.
I like the analogy
like
there,
where this
man.
is going.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
in my experience with like the StarCraft 2 audience is you're generally looking at an older average demographic than free-to-play games for the most part. That's immediately useful. If you think about free-to-play games and the fact that the vast majority of people that play free-to-play games don't spend a dime on them, recent statistics were ludicrous, particularly for mobile games. It was like, I think it was GDC that was saying 98% of people that play free-to-play games do not pay a dime for them at all.
I can attest to that, yep.
If they're not willing to spend $5 on a skin, are they going to be willing to spend $30+ on your product? That's a bit of a difficult argument to make, but when you look at the average demographics of StarCraft viewers, which is 25 to 32 male, in traditionally countries that are very tech-savvy, that have kind of a higher standard of living, disposable income, high penetration in Europe, high penetration in the US and the UK, that you can, even with a smaller audience, leverage the fact that these are spenders, these are consumers that are actually willing to buy into things like that and actually put their money where their mouth is, particularly right now where people are like, oh God, let's save esports. We're going to save StarCraft 2 from its imminent demise because it's like only a month away from completely dying because holy shit, dead game. I think that you can get people to actually buy those products and support those people that are advertising via these teams. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it. You don't have to spend as much as you do on an LCS team. How much does it cost to sponsor an LCS team? I would imagine a shitload.
Yeah. Whereas
you can sponsor a StarCraft 2 team or even an individual player, and even a small amount of money might be absolutely incredible. I mean, I think everyone now knows, because they were public about it, how much r/Bitcoin paid us. $500 a month for 6 months. That's tiny. That's a tiny amount of money. But you get a couple more of those sponsorships on a StarCraft 2 team, suddenly that's a couple of salaries that are paid for. Suddenly that's a flight or two that's paid for. And it does add up. And you can provide a decent service to these guys, even if they're very small. And then you can get your big title sponsors that pay the majority of it there, that you retag for, like you do with HyperX, say, particularly for Team Liquid. They changed their tag to that. You can be a title sponsor. You can make that video content for them. You can have the pre-rolls and everything like that. And you can be really, really flexible. And we wanted to try and really explain to people, look, a sponsorship can be anything in theory, and the budget is extremely flexible.
I think it's awesome, because this is the kind of thing, like, and I know John will be able to vouch for this. these for me, these decks, these presentations, sales pitches, whatever you want to call them, they were like such. When I first came into esports back in the day, they were like gold dust. Like if you even saw somebody else's, they would get super pissed off at you. Like, how have you got this? Like, how dare you? It was like so much went into them. Apparently, even though they're just standard, PDFs or whatever. Certainly they were back in the day. But people used to be really sensitive about who saw them, and people used to sign NDAs. Like if you had access to them and you were emailing them on behalf of the organization, you could only send them out to prospective clients and all this like crazy shit. And all that actually served to achieve long term in the industry was we got a bunch of bedroom organizations come in. They had money. They maybe had one sponsor, but they didn't know how to grow, how to run a fucking business, how to pitch to anybody. They didn't have a clue because the people who did know that didn't want to fucking share the info. And that's been a huge problem throughout esports, that, you get these bedroom organizations, they come in, nobody knows what they're doing, they blow all their startup cash, and the players get fucked.
Yeah.
and then
how
they
many
disappear.
times has that happened? So fucking many.
Honestly, it's frightening. And releasing things like this into the public domain, and exactly, I'm glad we brought up the executives, because I know my good friend Jason Lake, he was really passionate about doing that, having this sort of groundswell of knowledge and information you could go to, that if you wanted to run an organization and you wanted to run a team and you wanted to treat it like a business, there would be the information to do that. There would be tools and knowledge shared from elder statesmen of esports. So it's a great thing to see, and I hope more people get to see what a professional presentation looks like, because by the same token, I've seen some pretty fucking laughable ones.
Some people don't even know where to start. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
so
exactly.
Getting a
This
chance
is
to
incredible.
actually look at one.
This is actually.
I mean, I don't know
it's
if
really
our
good.
sponsorship deck is the place to start, because at the end of the day, we haven't had a huge number of sponsors. And I'd be lying if I said, "Oh, putting out a sponsorship deck really got us like 6 new sponsors." Like, no, it didn't.
Well, it's a
But
different environment now. I mean,
we at least talking to a couple of people about it. Getting sponsorship is very, very difficult. The approach is very difficult. The expectation of each sponsor is always going to be different, and especially when you're not dealing with a game that's the top dog, you're having to explain to people, look, this is actually still viable, and you're still just thinking about the team survival. The goal with Axiom is always, we want to be able to break even without spending any of our own money on month-to-month expenses. So in order to do that, we need to be able to pay 5-player salaries, content producer salary, rent, electricity, food budget, water, and that's our kind of month-to-month. So we've got to be able to pay all of that. Can we feasibly do that within StarCraft 2 right now, as it stands with the view count, with, let's just say, a sponsorship count of maybe 6 with various different sizes? Yes, absolutely you can. But it's a case of trying to nail those sponsors down and then not losing them at the end of the contract, because a lot of them want to get in for 6 months. They don't want to get in for a year. Convincing them of a year is very, very difficult. You often have to give a discount if you're going to do that. And even then, you're still going to have problems, because these organizations get approached on a daily basis by some random Call of Duty team that's this 13-year-old guy. And strangely enough, we had a Call of Duty team approach Axiom, and I'm like, oh, he's asking, does you want to be like Axiom Call of Duty? That's really weird. Well, I'm not interested in that. And it's like, no, I want you to sponsor us. I want you to pay us money. No! No! That's happening on a daily basis. And then you've got, some sponsorships which are just ludicrous. There's just gear, gear sponsorship, just completely, totally useless.
I still get sponsorship requests, right? Does your news website want to sponsor my team? What the fuck is going through your head as you type up that email? And the best as well is when you can tell it's like a blanket email. And,
so
it's
you
like,
see the CC.
Yeah,
You
dear
see it by
evil
CC.
geniuses.
They accidentally leave the last and one of the things there.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like,
God.
why the fuck would a news website want to sponsor, like you say, a bunch of fucking 13-year-old Call of Duty players? We could never.
It happens.
Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, people, I think people are so, they understand they need sponsorship to exist in the industry. They just don't understand, A, what is a viable sponsor. They have no idea of what sponsorship really entails. They have no idea of how to attract them. And they have and when they do manage to hook that big fish, generally they get all in a tizzy and they fuck it up, and the sponsor won't come back. They promise them a bunch of bullshit they can't deliver, and that sponsor's going to go. And that's been a huge culture within esports. I mean, even respectable organizations have done that kind of like slash and burn, scorched earth policy when it comes to sponsors. You know, we'll bring them in, we'll promise them we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and when we don't deliver, fuck it, we got the money anyway, and we'll just get another sponsor. It'll all be okay, guys. We still see reputable organizations behaving like that. So, you know, absolute hats off to John, because anything that lifts the veil on how we need to run as a business is going to help us in the long term. And I've always respected Axiom's complete transparency and John's transparency. Like after the Shoutcraft analysis he did, you know, breaking down the numbers. These are the things that I think are really important to get us to where we need to be as a industry.
Yeah, just the actual money numbers. That's the biggest part.
So,
View numbers is one thing.
So I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to echo what Richard said. One of the most valuable things is one of the things I learned very, very early in my career was Richard's best friend Alex Garfield told me, he was like, "Hey man, like no one pays money to put in an inch and a half on a jersey." So like laying out these demographics is actually really important. So it gives a better idea about like what actually it takes and like what people are interested in. Sort of weird side question though, like you leverage your own personal brand heavily. Has that been an issue with Axiom, or is that a plus?
It can be a plus, but it makes sponsorship negotiation more difficult because it would be much, much easier just to sell my brand to a sponsor.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I cannot do, because if I do that, then I compromise my perceived like neutrality when it comes to looking at games. In particular, the Planet Side thing was pretty difficult because I've spoken about this publicly before. I've taken deals in the past where I've either repped a game or done something like that. Polaris does quite a few of them. There's an upcoming one with Guns of Icarus, which is a game we liked like before they even came to us. And in fact, that was the reason they came to us in the first place, because a few of us had played their game and really liked it. And they said, we have this budget, we're going to pay X number of thousand, and we want this kind of event. And basically they set it up so it was just like kind of a death match between two teams, a kind of a celebrity death match. And that was a pretty effective marketing strategy, so much so that they've done it 3 times. This is the 3rd time they've done it, and they've sunk a lot of money into doing it, and every time they've come back with more ROI. So I've taken a few of those deals. The one where like I feel I kind of crossed the line and I was being... I got to the point where I wasn't even sure if I could stay neutral on it, and as a result, I actually stopped covering the game, was actually PlanetSide. And I don't think I've covered that game since we did the Axiom sponsorship. And unfortunately, it's really annoying because other games, especially with the kind of leverage that I've got on my channel, would be a massive, massive sponsor for the team, because the amount that we could demand for cross-promotion on the Total Halibut channel is huge. And, you know, I know this just because of the amount that I've been paid for the more neutral brand deals in the past. But the advantage of it is that you still get, even if I don't directly endorse those games, I can still cross promote. And Axiom on its own is kind of backed up by the fact that there is this Twitter account with 286,000 followers, which is pushing X, or there's this like from a 1.6 million sub channel, and there's that kind of cross pollination between the two. It's still a very difficult line to draw. And as a result, we're looking for sponsors, and I think we found one that I think is very potentially promising, where we can still link it into general gaming, but not put me in a position where I have to compromise my credibility as a critic. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some sponsors we just had to turn down because, look, I can't do this. Like, I would much rather pay the money out of my own pocket, because long term, tanking my credibility is fucking dumb and would kill my business.
Yeah, of course.
That would absolutely tank you.
Okay, I wonder how many conversations have ended with a sponsor where you go to message them and they're like, "Oh, well, we're not really interested at all in your team. However, your main channel, we'd love to get." Like, it seems like, dude, there's a lot of that side. That seems like it would get really fucking annoying. Like, I would almost dread sending out emails as you, like, knowing that it's going to come back with, "We're not actually interested in that, but your main brand, wow, we'd really love to jump in on that." That seems like it would get really old.
We had a few of them. We had a few that were really kind of strange as well, where it's like, "Oh, well, we don't want to sponsor it this time, but we'd love to kind of get you into our sort of esports consultancy sort of team, and we'd love to hear your opinion on this." Like, well, I have consultant fees, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to pay them, and I'm working for you for free to help you design your products. That doesn't make any sense, and you get that quite a bit. And asking for money can be difficult. No doubt about that. and it can really turn off a lot of conversations pretty much immediately. It's like, oh, you wanted money? All right, well, we'll see you. That's that. And that sucks. But I mean, I hope that we are able to get the rest of the sponsorship sorted out this year. It would be really nice if Axiom could break even. That would be great. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities within StarCraft 2 to get, some really cost-effective advertising going on. And I think we're going to be ramping up our video production this year just to do that, because it's like what Cody just said. They don't pay for an inch and a half in a jersey. That's fucking useless. Ultimately, that's you're better off with your logo in Game Heart these days. Honestly, in fact, our latest sponsor was like that was what they were really interested in. They want to see a logo in Game Heart because it was in Clan Wars and Ace of Team Story Cup. They were seeing that directly. And they, and they wanted us to make sure that we were mentioning it in interviews and things like that. And that's way more important. A verbal shout out means far, far more than a badge on a sleeve. So we're just trying to understand how we can provide more value. And like this year, I'm starting to use the Axiom overlay whenever I stream StarCraft 2, because the last time I did it, I had 12,000 viewers. So like, oh, I better use my team's overlay then. Get our sponsors repped on there. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Is Sony tapping you for like their future projects, or like H1Z1 for example? I think is going to be.
Yeah, I talk quite a bit with Sony on like a bunch of different stuff. So
they seem really involved with the scene, which is awesome. Considering they're not very involved with the scene on the day-to-day, they seem to sort of.
A lot of them really like esports. Like, there's a bunch of them that like LoL, there's a bunch of them that like StarCraft. There's every time they're at MLG, a lot of the guys that are repping PlanetSide 2 are also going to watch the StarCraft and things like that. Yep. Matt Higbee, who's the creative director of PlanetSide 2, is really into StarCraft 2 in a very big way. So yeah, I mean, I think they understand, and this is why they've also sponsored 2 StarCraft players. They sponsored Minigun and they sponsored Grubby, if I recall correctly. That it's a fairly effective and cheap way of, 1, supporting something that they like, and 2, actually getting some value back from a demographic that's 100% PC gamer. And you're never gonna miss when you advertise a free-to-play PC game to a 100% PC gamer market. The chances of you actually getting a conversion out of there are so much fucking higher. And it's a basic rule of advertising. You advertise to the people that are interested in it. You don't advertise products that your demographic isn't interested in, because you get a piss poor conversion rate.
Yep. All right,
one
guys.
thing, I have one final question.
Points.
I'm curious.
Yep.
Have you guys ever considered like affiliate marketing? Is it not worth it to you? Or I'm actually really surprised at the amount of money. Affiliate marketing. Like, it's actually good. The Amazon money, like I make way more off of the affiliate marketing now than I ever do on Twitch ad revenue. I'm really surprised at the very least that I don't see you guys link like Amazon stuff more.
Okay, I mean, there's a couple of reasons, and this actually ties into the main channel as well. There's a big problem with potentially perceived bias towards a particular retailer, and this is especially becoming true now that Amazon's also a game developer. They've got their own in-house game develop. Yep, they actually now own Double Helix, the guys that made Strider and Killer Instinct. And they're actually building up their in-house game development. And it's kind of the same with Valve as well. Like, if you endorse Steam, you're also basically kind of endorsing their games, which can be a real problem in terms of neutrality. I think like an Axiom sponsor for a digital game retailer would just be a perfect fit. And I'm actually working on that with a couple of people right now. But the affiliate marketing side of things, yeah, sure, you can do affiliate links to products if you like. But even then, like, the viewers get a bit cagey around that. The one example of that being, oh, did you just give this a good review so that more of us will click your referral link and buy it? That's a prime example of something that can actually happen. There's something that's coming that Valve is planning to allow you to create your own user stores. This is like been their pipe dream for a while. They want users to curate their front page by creating their own stores, right? For me, that could maybe be the biggest earner in my lifetime. Like, because you get a small percentage.
If people buy from your store or whatever,
yeah, I could make a lot of money on that. But how I'm gonna have to approach it is gonna have to be really, really careful. Like, any kind of perceived bias is gonna have to be completely out of the window. And the stuff that you're talking about with affiliates as well, I've noticed a few people have been going with these CD key vendors lately. Like, they've been getting in. Wasn't it a Planet Key? Is it Planet Key Dynamics are sponsoring Oz right now? That's an actual team. But World of CD Keys is sponsoring a bunch of stuff. There is a really bad history with a lot of those companies that they basically buy either gray market or flat out illegal keys that effectively fell off the back of a lorry and were ripped off, and then they sell them for cheaper prices. And a few of those sites are really shady, and it can be very risky to associate with them. I believe World of CD keys and Planet Key are legit, but they're very hard to investigate, and it's very hard to figure out because these things are popping up every day now.
That's Richard's cue.
Yeah, pretty much.
What have I done?
Investigate into
Oh, no. I'm going to leave all that behind. I'm sold out now.
G2A is shady. I think I've heard a few bad things about G2A. I don't want to, allegedly, of course, but how do you think these CD key sites actually get cheap keys? There's only a few ways you can really do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's only a few ways you can really do it.
That's a fair point.
You go to, I know a guy in Russia in an alleyway that has like a laptop, and you take a flash drive to him, and you suck his dick, and he gives you a few. Like, there's like a lot of really weird stories. So, yeah.
Yeah, a few of these CD keys were selling. CD key sites were selling humble bundles at a markup, which is the biggest of dick moves I've ever fucking heard of. That's absolutely horrible, and it's hard to find one that's actually running an above-board business who isn't at least selling gray market stuff from Russian territories. That's a lot cheaper because they've got to price the games cheaper there because piracy is so high. So they encourage people to buy by reducing the plus, of course, prices vary depending on median income and things like that. It's shaky, and honestly, Steam's been cracking down on it a lot lately. And think about the backlash if you were associated with a site like that and a story came out that they had distributed dodgy keys, duplicate keys, keys that got banned by Valve, keys that fell off the back of a fucking lorry.
Yeah.
There's a
I feel like even if
what is a lorry, by the way? Come on, help me out.
I feel like even if you
it's
did
a
like
truck.
It's a truck.
If only
Okay.
giving you a
Even
bit
if
of
you did like Amazon,
Brilliant.
if you did like Amazon
I'll use
and
the word
Newegg.
in my next article. I promise. I'll actually figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, stick a
It
lorry
seems
in
like
there.
even if you went with like the Amazon and Newegg stuff, like I feel like that could be like easy thousands of dollars a month for your team. Like as much as like a decent sized sponsor. Like it just seems like the potential for money there is so great.
Yeah, it can be if you get the right one, And I think that there are some organizations that are not yet in esports sponsorship that would be absolutely ideal for that. And I'm trying to work on that. And I think that once a few teams maybe figure that out and think out a way that they can do a proper sponsorship deal and also have some kind of referral bonus there is, that's pretty important. I mean, we have a small thing going on with WASDA where if you buy the Axiom keyboard, which it's actually available now, but we're still trying to work on getting the designs with more keys and a couple of different things so that people have options. But, we make a cut of that every time that a WASDA Axiom keyboard is sold, or when people buy I think it's the little keycaps that we're doing, going to be selling like a keycap, the Axiom keycap for like $5, and we make $2 off that. And I think you can do a little bit with that. It's more of a kind of crossover with your sponsor. You're also selling merchandise through your sponsor that's giving you a kickback legitimately, and you're also being paid sponsorship dollars. So you're kind of double dipping on one sponsor, which I think can work pretty well because it helps them too.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, why don't we wrap that up and take a quick break? It's been like another good hour and a half here, so I think a lot of folks could.
Cody needs to change his piss bag.
Think how much longer it explodes and just like
all
splashes
right.
on my pants.
So we'll be right back. We've got still a few topics to talk about, believe it or not. We've gone way over, but that's good.
Are you still fucking over your fan base by doing subscriber only questions at the end? Is that still happening? Or
maybe.
Okay,
No,
cool.
It might not happen.
Subscribe,
today,
people.
Well, maybe
Exactly.
if you get them to click a few Amazon referral links and buy some products, then they can ask a question. That would be good.
Unfortunately, I don't have an Amazon affiliates link on my.
Well, we know what
Yeah,
you're
so
doing.
you guys go ahead and just use destiny.gg.
Nice.
Oh God.